Yo, what's up? Joel Klatt here, getting all set for the 2022 NFL Draft. Take a deep breath. Here's our top 50 players, the way that I see them available in this year's draft. Are we ready? All right, here we go. 50 to 44 first. We're going to go by column. I've got Desmond Ridder, inside the top 50. He just makes it at number 50. Lewis signed the safety from Georgia. Trey McBride, really good tight end from Colorado State. Jaquan Brisker, a guy I'm a big fan of, by the way. Brisker was terrific for that defense for Penn State. In fact, just go back and look at that game if you want to. If you're a nerd like me and you're like, yeah, I'll go back and look at a game. Look at the way he played late against Wisconsin in the first week of the season. He was terrific in that game. Love Jaquan Brisker and what he brings to the table. Christian Harris, he makes the top 50, the linebacker from Alabama. Quay Walker, you're going to see a lot of Bulldogs, by the way, on the defensive side. They were loaded last year on their way to that national championship. Daniel Faalele, he's the tackle from Minnesota. He's basically as big as a planet. He's like 6'8", 8,000 pounds. By the way, he can move. He's very good. Saw his first action in college football. He started against Ohio State years ago in the horseshoe just to get his feet wet, and he continued to play well and was a big reason why Minnesota started having success during the course of his career. All right, here we go. Next column. Travis Jones, the defensive tackle. He's in there. Kyler Gordon, the corner from Washington. By the way, they had Trent McDuffie as well, so they continue to churn out, the Huskies do, secondary players into the NFL. They've been very good. Sam Howell, our second quarterback on the list. He's at number 41, the North Carolina product. Logan Hall, the edge rusher. Greg Dulcich, he's a guy, a tight end from UCLA that I really like. He's athletic. He's got great hands. He can play a flex tight end position, which means that he's going to just bump out a little bit and be more of a stand-up tight end than an inline tight end with his hand on the ground. Arnold Ebiketie, the edge player from Penn State, again, like Jaquan Brisker, really held them together defensively. And then Matt Corral, the quarterback from Ole Miss. When I think of and look at Matt Corral, I think of a guy that is very athletic and has a great arm down the field. Okay, obviously Lane Kiffin gets a lot of run for what he does offensively, but the bottom line is that he can't do most of that unless Matt Corral is able to execute from the pocket. You see him pump right there, terrific ball over the top into the corner. You also see him be able to adjust when the defense adjusts. He can throw off platform. He's got great arm talent, and we know how tough he is, and his ability to run, I think, is only going to serve him well at the next level. So Matt Corral makes the top 50. Won't be surprised if he sneaks into that top of the second round type of area there at quarterback. All right, let's continue to move into the top 36 here. We've got Leal, the defensive tackle from A&M. He's fallen a little bit. Isaiah Spiller, the running back for the Aggies. Raymond, an offensive tackle from Central Michigan. He's a very good player, by the way. Zion Johnson from Boston College. He's a guard, interior offensive lineman. You're going to hear his name. Probably both of these guys in the first round. We'll see where they go, maybe in that 20 to 28 range in the first round in this year's draft. Breece Hall, the running back for Iowa State. I really love what Breece Hall is all about. Why? Because he's versatile. So if I'm a quarterback, if I'm an offensive coordinator at the NFL level, what do I want to see from a guy? I want to see him be able to do everything well. I've got to be able to give him the ball inside the tackles, and he's got to be able to produce. That means ball security, vision, toughness, all of those things. He's got that. Breece Hall has got that. Now, you've got to have some explosiveness and be able to attack on the edge. Can I pitch it to you? Can I throw you a screen on the edge? And can you gain yardage? Can you be explosive and threaten the defense? Yes, Hall can do that. I think Hall needs to probably improve a bit as a pass protector. That will be asked of him at the next level, but then also catching the ball out of the backfield. This guy is versatile. I love Breece Hall. He's a big reason why Matt Campbell and those Iowa State Cyclones had such a good few years there in the last couple of years. Has played a lot of football. Now we move in towards the top 30. Jalen Petrie, the safety for Baylor. He's a versatile guy. I love what he was able to do for the Big 12 champs. He's all over the field, by the way. When you watch Baylor play defense, he's lined up in the slot. He's blitzing. He does everything for them. So his versatility as a hybrid player, I think, is going to be very important to his success at the next level. Jamison Williams, the wide receiver from Alabama, I have him all the way at 30 only because of that injury. Remember, he tore his ACL in the national championship game. I think he's a better player than that, but right now I've got him at number 30 only because of that injury. Jahan Dotson, the wide receiver from Penn State, I've got him at 29. He's not as big as some of these other wide receivers, but he plays like it. I thought his career was outstanding. They probably should have gotten him the ball more. He was great with the ball in his hands on those bubble screens on the outside, but also down the field. For a guy that wasn't quite 6 foot, he was terrific in the 50-50 zone. That means, just battling with the defensive back right there with the ball in the air. He was really good, strong hands. And then Malik Willis makes my top 30, the quarterback from Liberty. Here's the deal, folks. Malik Willis, I've got him at 28. I think he very well could be the first quarterback taken, and I think he's the quarterback with the highest upside in this draft. Why? Well, there's a lot of reasons, and it's not just because he's athletic. No. Listen, yes, he can run around a little bit, but so can, Josh Allen, which we saw for the Buffalo Bills, or Herbert, what he does with his feet, Mahomes, what he does with his feet. I think he's got the ability also to attack from the pocket and get the ball down the field because he's got a strong arm. When I look at him throw the ball down the field, I see a guy that throws on time and on target. He's accurate down the field for the most part, but he can also get on the edge. This is a nightmare type of player for a defense to defend because he's strong. He's got the strong arm. He's got a good head on his shoulders. He did very well in meetings. And you see those wide receivers deep down the field. They're not having to stop, slow down because of that strong arm. He's got the highest upside of any quarterback in this draft. And because of that, don't be surprised if you see a team like, let's say, Detroit, package the last pick in the first round, the first pick in the second round, and move up into maybe the top 20, the top 15, and select a guy like Malik Willis, who they don't have to start him next year, but down the line, he might be the guy that's taking them deep into the playoffs, like you're seeing some of those young, solid quarterbacks right now in the league. Devontae Wyatt, the tackle from Georgia, he's at 27, another one of those Bulldogs. Now let's start moving into the top 25. Okay, 26 to 19. What do we got over here? Andrew Booth, the corner from Clemson. Good length, solid player on the outside. Trevor Penning, offensive tackle. He's a guy that's rising up draft boards. Won't be surprised if he gets maybe overvalued because of what's going on at offensive tackle in some of these NFL organizations. I've got Pickett right here at 24, the quarterback from Pitt. We just talked about Malik Willis. Don't be surprised if Willis, because of his upside, maybe gets selected a little bit higher than Kenny Pickett. Kenyon Green, the guard from Texas A&M at 23. Olave, silky smooth as silk sheets. Chris Olave, the wide receiver for the Buckeyes, at 22. He's one of my favorite players I've ever covered in college football. Very respectful, great head on his shoulders, and a terrific player. Great route runner down the middle of the field, in particular threatening the defense, and I think he's going to have a big career at the next level. Jordan Davis, biggest impact interior defensive lineman I've seen in a long time. I thought he had a terrific year. I've got him rated a little higher than most people because I think his game fits at the next level, and he's going to really solidify the interior of the defense of the next team that he's on. Daxton Hill, the safety from Michigan, good versatile player there in the back end, and David Ajabo, also from Michigan, at number 19. Now, again, Ajabo, like Jamison Williams, he's the type of guy that I was moving down the draft board only because of that injury. Remember, at his pro day, he tore his Achilles tendon. This guy has not played a ton of football. Because of that, he wasn't on the field on every down for Michigan. It was only in what's called sub package or nickel package, passing downs. He was a freak on the field. He doesn't know how good he can be. Came to the sport late. He's just scratching the surface. So when he gets healthy, watch out for David Ajabo. Every coach that I would talk to before a Michigan game that was an opposing coach. So Ryan Day from Ohio State, Kirk Ferentz from Iowa, Pat Fitzgerald for Northwestern. These were all games that I did last year, and I would talk to those coaches. And I would always bring up Aidan Hutchinson, and they were like, yeah, I mean, Aidan Hutchinson is really good, and we're going to talk about him later as the number one player overall in this draft. And clearly he is that, and they got to pay attention. And every single one of these coaches would then say, but man, 55 on the other side, he's a freak. I don't know what we're going to do with him. So Ajabo, I hope can get healthy, and he should get healthy, and I think that he's going to have a big career at the next level. All right, let's move forward here with the top 50. As we take a look at this next batch of players, what you're going to start to see is wide receivers, offensive line, edge players. They're the ones that are kind of coming to the surface. George Karlaftis, the end from Purdue, he's in there. Treylon Burks, the wide receiver from Arkansas. Charles Cross, the tackle from Mississippi State. Tyler Linderbaum, this guy is an interior offensive lineman that could get drafted in the top 15. You don't see that often, but he's certainly that caliber player. Jermaine Johnson, the edge player from Florida State, might get selected all the way into the top 10. Trent McDuffie, Very safe, clean prospect from Washington. Love his ability to defend on the outside as a corner. Trayvon Walker, I have him at 12. I think that in my final top 50 before the draft, he might be all the way up in that 6 or 7 range. He just continues to rise and rise. One, you turn on his film, and he's so versatile. Folks, you don't often see players that are 6'5", 270 pounds that can play the run like he plays the run, that can get after the passer like he does with explosiveness, and drop back into coverage and defend space like he's able to defend. He's what, 270 pounds, and he ran a 4.5 40? What? Like total freak show. Blew away the interview process. Do not be surprised if Detroit entertains Trayvon Walker at number 2. He's rising up that quickly. I think that this guy has huge potential at the next level, and another one of these Bulldogs that could go high in the draft. That play right there against Michigan, that's an offensive line that was considered one of the best offensive lines in college football. And he just takes him, boom, sticks it right back into the running back's face, and he's right there for the stop. At the top, by the way, Drake London. Love Drake London. Physical. He understands how to create space, strong with his hands. Won't be surprised if he's the top wide receiver taken in this draft. We're getting into some really good players up here, folks, as we move now into the top 10 overall in my top 50 players available in this draft. Nakobe Dean, the linebacker for Georgia. One, his leadership ability, but also his ability to run. Okay, so at this level, when you're getting what you get from NFL organizations, when you watch playoff games, you see spread the field, quarterbacks, space, all this different things. And you need linebackers that can play in that space and affect and impact that space. And Dean is one of those players. Derek Stingley Jr., the corner from LSU. Listen, he very well could have been the top pick in the draft a couple of years ago after his freshman year. He was that good. Stingley has great length and athleticism. He's got terrific instincts. He's great with the ball in the air, and he attacks it. You see that time after time when you put on the film. But he had a Liz Frank injury in his foot, and those are just such unknowns. So organizations are struggling right now with how to rate and rank Stingley because of that Liz Frank injury. If he's healthy, this dude's a starter day one and could turn out to be one of the better corners in the National Football League. But he needs to be healthy for that to take place. So right now I've got him at number 9. Devin Lloyd, terrific player and leader at the linebacker position for Utah. And very similar to Nakobe Dean, he can move in space. He was a big reason why Utah was able to get over the hump and finally win the Pac-12 before being defeated by Ohio State in the Rose Bowl. Speaking of Ohio State, a guy that skipped that game, Garrett Wilson, did not play in the Rose Bowl. Why? Because he's generally considered the top wide receiver in the draft. Runs great routes, folks. Garrett Wilson is such a weapon down the field. And Ryan Day used him accordingly. And it didn't matter if it was for Justin Fields or if it was for C.J. Stroud. This guy, Garrett Wilson, is a technician on the outside. One of the players that I love to watch and I love to cover. He's mature. When I talked to him actually a couple of weeks ago before Ohio State's Pro Day, he was talking about how he wanted to develop during the course of his career a better route running sense and being more specific and precise with his routes. And he was able to do that during the course of his career. And that's why he turned into one of, if not the best wide receivers in college football and widely considered the top prospect at the wide receiver position in the NFL draft in a class in which has a lot of great wide receivers. By the way, it helps when you have that precision in your route running and you also run sub 4.4 in your 40, right? I mean, not many times do you get that explosiveness and that precision. So that's why Garrett Wilson is there at 7. Kayvon Thibodeau at number 6. A lot of differing opinions on Kayvon Thibodeau. I could see Thibodeau being selected in the top 3. I could also see Thibodeau falling all the way, maybe even outside of the top 10. When you turn on the film, you see plays like this, and you're like, wow, splash plays on the outside. He was terrific. He was terrific in the Pac-12 championship game against USC a couple of years ago. And then you turn on the film in some games and he's just not there because he's injured, which is not great. And then there's also games in which Oregon desperately needs a stop late and they don't get it. And you're thinking to yourself like, hey, you've got the lead. This is the time for Thibodeau to show up. And he wasn't there at times this year in losses. There have been questions about how much he loves football versus what football provides. Whether those are fair or not is not for me to say. All I'm saying is that opinions are differing right now when you talk to organizations in the NFL about Kayvon Thibodeau. If he's selected just on his potential and his athleticism and what he brings to the table out on the edge, he's clearly one of the best players in this draft. So we'll see where he goes. I think that there's a wide variety of places that he could go. All right, top 5 players available in this year's NFL draft. Here we go. If you haven't listened to anything else, here we go. Who are the best players? Well, let's rock. Sauce Gardner, the corner from Cincinnati. Dude's phenomenal. Great length. Folks, he can defend in man. He's got good hands. He's got great ball skills. He was on a team that needed to get over the hump and get itself to the playoff, and Desmond Ridder and Sauce Gardner led them to the promised land. This guy is terrific. When I look at him, he oozes NFL corner. He can play man-to-man. He can play in a single safety zone. He can do all of those things, and he attacks. He tackles well. He can blitz off the edge. He's versatile. I love what he brings to the table. Sauce Gardner in the backfield right here. Look at him. Good length, good speed, great hands. I love what he's able to bring to the table. That's why I have him in my top 5. At number 4 and 3, I've got some offensive linemen. Evan Neal from Alabama at number 4, and Ike Ekwonu, the North Carolina State product, at number 3. These guys are both really good players. Ekwonu, by the way, he's the type of guy that just mauls you off the line of scrimmage. When I'm watching Ekwonu, and I was preparing to do his game in the Holiday Bowl against UCLA, and now, of course, that game didn't happen, but watch as he just mauls people in the run game. When I think of him at the next level, that's something that translates, all right? A big, strong player that can dominate at the line of scrimmage, and he's the type of guy that I think could have a long NFL career and start right away at right tackle and maybe eventually even move over to left tackle. Now, as I look at my top 2 players available, these are 2 of my favorite players that I covered last year in college football. Was able and fortunate enough to do both of their games and sit down and meet with them. And that's Kyle Hamilton, number 2 from Notre Dame. He's the safety. And Aidan Hutchinson, he's my top overall player from Michigan. What I love about both of these guys is, one, their leadership, okay? They were leaders of men at these universities, and they had a lot of success at Notre Dame and at Michigan. Clearly what Michigan was able to do, beating Ohio State for the first time in 10 years. But then you looked at what they were able to do on the field. Let's start with Hamilton. Hamilton is a versatile player, okay? In this day and age, when you need players that can stay on the field on defense against heavy run sets and heavy pass sets, he fits the bill. He can play strong safety and be down near the line of scrimmage because of his size and physicality against a heavy run set. And then when they spread out, he's got the instincts, he's got the fluidity, the athleticism, and the speed to stay out there and really affect the passing game. You saw that several different times this year, and in particular against Florida State. His ability to cover, stick on players in the back end, here he is, make up speed. He gets in front of the wide receiver, and he's able to get a pick. He made timely interceptions for that Notre Dame team, and he's a big reason why they had so much success over the last few years. I love what he brings to the table. And then my number 1 overall player is Aidan Hutchinson. Folks, Michigan doesn't have the year that they had without Aidan Hutchinson. This guy was the Energizer Bunny, okay? He set the tone for the culture in the offseason. He told the strength staff last year, he says, I'm going to come back to Michigan, not just to raise my draft stock, but to raise the profile of Michigan football. And we're talking about Michigan football, the all-time winningest program in the history of our sport. And here he is saying, no, it's not good enough. I'm coming back so that we can leave a legacy here, and that's exactly what he did. He told the strength staff in the offseason, ring me out every single day. I want to make sure that I've got nothing left to give. And that's how he played. Down in and down out. After the quarterback, great in the run game, passionate with his teammates, great leadership. I love Aidan Hutchinson, and that's why he's going to be your top player overall in my top 50 list. He's going to be your number 1 pick, in particular after what Jacksonville did in free agency, solidifying the offensive line. Aidan Hutchinson should have a long, productive, quality NFL career, and that's why he's my number 1 player available in this year's draft. So there you have it. The top 50 players as I see them for this spring's NFL draft. Folks, thanks for watching. All your comments, I'm here for them.